What is your most unbelievable memory? Story 1. This was a couple of years ago, but I pulled up to a stoplight, and another vehicle in the next lane also came to a stop. The car is filled with what looks like high school kids. The kid in the passenger seat notices me, taps on his window, and starts doing the universal sign for rock, paper, scissors. I look at the light, which is still red, and immediately think, screw it, and play along. So we start, 1, 2, 3, shoot, and we tie. 1, 2, 3, shoot, we tie again. This keeps happening. All the young kids in the other car are involved and are screaming, "Whoa!" every time we tie. We literally got off like 15 rounds of rock, paper, scissors and tied every single time until the light turned green. I'm still high from that and hope all those guys are doing well. My wife and a close friend of ours had a recent game of three-way rock, paper, scissors. All three of us threw the exact same thing 4 times in a row. We decided to never play rock, paper, scissors again and let that streak stand. The chance of 3 people throwing 4 exact hands in a row of rock, paper, scissors, as it turns out, is a 0.015% chance. I can't imagine what the chances of yours were. About 0.00007% chance. I'm not good at math, but I'm good at Google. Having beat those odds, you should have immediately driven to the nearest casino or purchased a lottery ticket. Story 2. I was in elementary school during recess, just kinda daydreaming and looking at some ravens flying overhead when one of them suddenly took a nosedive right into an open trash can. So of course I rushed over there to check it out, but the raven was just gone, out of nowhere. I was not the only one who saw it though. Another kid came rushing over as well, and that's how I met my best friend for the next 4 years. Come to find out, your friend was the raven the entire time. Quoth the raven, "What's up, bro?" That raven was just the platonic Cupid. Who knew birds could be such good matchmakers? Story 3. A friend once called the wrong number, got the wrong house, and had the right person pick up. So I was at work replacing a modem for my boss. I'd removed the modem and connected a telephone to test that it had dial tone. Soon after, the phone rang. It didn't make much sense because that phone line had only been used for outgoing calls from the computer. When I picked it up, the person on the other line just said, "Hey man, you want to see a movie later?" I recognized the voice too. It was a friend of mine. I was really confused for a second and said something like, "Josh? How did you get this number?" He said he called my home phone number. He must have misdialed my number and accidentally dialed the number for my boss's modem line at work. He called the wrong number, got the wrong house, and the right person picked up, on a phone that had only been connected for 2 minutes in the past 2 years. The odds must be astronomical. It's just a weird coincidence that I'll always remember. I once cold called a friend I hadn't heard from in 10 years. It was busy. I called again a few seconds later. His first words to me were, "I just called you. It was busy." We had not spoken in years and yet cold called each other within the same 10 seconds. It wasn't for any particular reason either, just pure coincidence. Quantum entanglement. Something like this happened to me too recently. I was talking about an old friend who I missed and was saying I should get in contact with them soon. Less than a minute later, she texted me saying she misses me and that we needed to catch up. Some people are just meant to be friends forever, I suppose. Story 4. I went to see Mitch Hedberg do stand-up. We stayed around a while, hoping to see him leaving. He never materialized though, so my husband and I walked towards our car. As we were walking, we heard a woman yell from an alley, "Hey, Mitch Hedberg is back here signing autographs." We walked around the corner behind a scary old building. It was like 1 a.m. and pretty dark. There was Mitch Hedberg and no other fans, just him and his wife who had been the one to yell about autographs. He was very high and super lovely. He hugged my husband and me and told us what his fans mean to him. He took pictures of us for his scrapbook page online. He was also hilarious. We were just there behind a building at 1 a.m. with Mitch Hedberg and his wife, laughing and hugging deep into the wee hour. When I tell people this, they go silent, and I'm not sure why. I figure they don't believe it. I feel like people might go silent because keeping a scrapbook with photos of his fans is profoundly sweet. To top it off, his addiction won over all the love he had and was given. So darn sad. That was my first thought too. The scrapbook was definitely what got me the most out of that story. It's like he was reminding himself that people did like him, but it also could have been so that he didn't forget any of the cool people he met, since he met so many. If you guys don't know who Mitch Hedberg is and you're a fan of one-liners, please go look up one of his shows. You will not be disappointed. Story 5. I was the brokest I have ever been, living in the middle of nowhere. I was pulling my last $20 out of a gas station ATM. I hit the button and it spit out $60. I was only charged $20 from my account. It sounds like such a tall tale, but I swear it happened. This actually does happen. I worked at a bank with a crappy ATM. Probably $60 to $100 a week extra was given out, and then they finally had it repaired. I took out $40 and got $120 once. I showed my cash and the receipt to an employee of the place where the ATM was, and they just shrugged and said, "That's not our money." So I bought our dinner and left $40 for the server. Story 6. I peed on a bear once at 12 or 13. Some background, I lived in a mountain cabin with some family, aunts and cousins and stuff. The cabin was small, but we had several acres, so we had about 4 RV trailers for the rest of the family. 2 were my aunts. 1 was for weed, and the smallest was for children, which was just my brother and I at the time. Anyhow, it was a cold wintry day with fresh snow. I woke up having to pee so bad, I'm surprised I didn't wet the bed. I'm groggy as heck, and my eyes are barely open as I head to the trailer door, open it, and start my morning leap. I did not notice the bear less than 2 feet away. So close, I could have pet him if I leaned a bit forward, with its head in the garbage can until I was halfway done and it moved. So of course I turned my whole body in my half-asleep state to see what moved, and I finally noticed a giant brown furry thing. I'm peeing all over its hind left thigh and leg as I'm wondering what it is, and the bear lifts its head and looks at me. We stare at each other for a moment as my actions begin to dawn on me. A moment later, I finished. The bear and I stared at each other for several moments until I took a step back, shut our flimsy door, and locked the deadbolt, which would have been useless had the bear decided I insulted his honor. I went back to bed, listening and waiting until I eventually fell back asleep. By the laws of nature, that bear is now part of your territory. Story 7. I was walking on a hiking or biking trail when a woman rode past me on her bicycle. I yelled out, "Keep the pedal to the metal." Not 2 seconds later, I hear an awful metallic noise and turn to see the poor woman's pedal mechanism had fallen apart. She told me, "You shouldn't have said that." I apologized profusely and asked if she needed any help. Naturally, she didn't. Not from me, anyway. The fact that she seemed to blame you for the accident makes this so much funnier, and the fact that they apologized profusely pains me. Don't apologize for your unintentional magic, OP. That lady should have had a better ward prepared. Story 8. I was driving a friend home to Indianapolis from Holy Cross in the South Bend. We got pulled over for speeding and the cop asked me, "Son, do you know how fast you were going?" To which I replied with a straight face and no sarcasm, "Well, my cruise control was set at 88, so I'm guessing somewhere in the vicinity of 88. I've never seen such a confused look on a person's face. He proceeds to ask me if I can step out of my vehicle and into his so he can talk to me while he writes me a ticket. I comply, and as he's writing me up, he's explaining to me how he had to do his sheriff training in Indianapolis. He said that the one thing that amazed him was how fast locals drive, especially on I-465, and he understands why I'm conditioned to do so. As soon as he's done with the ticket, he turns to me and says, "So here's the deal. You're the first motorist to ever admit to me you knew you were speeding, so I'm gonna cut you a break. If you can make it back to Indy without getting another ticket, I won't turn this one in, but if you do, you're getting 2. I slowed down for the rest of the drive. I think most cops really appreciate honesty. The one time I got pulled over for speeding, I just told it how it was. I was stuck behind a car that drove super slow, but then sped up as soon as we hit a passing lane. The cop gave the lowest fine he could instead of my actual speed. I don't advocate for admitting guilt to a crime, but being honest about traffic violations and minor infractions over the years has definitely served me well. Once they catch you in the lie, you won't get a break. Story 9. Background, my parents live in an old house, and my brother moved into one that's a bit of a fixer-upper. My dad knows how to do carpentry, electrical, and plumbing, and passed this knowledge on to us through home renovations. I am forbidden from using the phrase, "Hey guys, wouldn't it be hilarious if," because every time I do, that thing happens in the worst way possible, even if it's something wild and implausible. Wouldn't it be hilarious if the old porch was solid concrete? It was, with 1-inch thick rebar holding it together. Wouldn't it be hilarious if that wire was still live? It was, even though power to the entire house was shut off. Someone wired this outlet in before the circuit breakers. Wouldn't it be hilarious if that old pipe was still full of water? My brother cut into it and water began gushing out. Wouldn't it be hilarious if this trellis was holding up the entire wall? The wall began rapidly sagging down because the darn trellis was structurally integral. You're just more observant than them. Some of these were things where there was absolutely no way to tell by looking at it. The porch, for example, had brick facing on it, so you couldn't see how far down the slab went. The wire and pipe were in weird places and the source wasn't readily apparent. The wire in particular was assumed to have been cut in the basement, but my joking prompted us to check if it was hot before yanking it out. The "oh crap" out of my dad when it sparked off the tester was amazing though. Maybe it's time to switch to "wouldn't it be boring if everything went smoothly?" and see if that brings some good luck to your next renovation project. Story 10. When I was ditching my first period in high school, a cop was in front of me at 7-Eleven. The cashier couldn't break his 50, so I paid for his coffee with my stuff. He thanked me, we jabbed about me being late to school, and I noticed the tattoo on his neck, and we joked about bad decisions. 2 weeks later, I got caught in a speed trap, and he stuck his head in my window and went, "Coffee girl!" And I went, "Tat neck!" and he let me off with a finger shake. Story 11. Many moons ago, when I was 15, we were at a house party. We were all drinking and smoking, usual teenage nonsense. My parents were pretty cool in that they knew what we were doing and knew they couldn't stop it. So they followed the "don't get in a car if someone's been drinking, call us and we'll come get you." Around 11:30 p.m., I called my dad for a ride. We were on the edge of town, right where it starts to become rural. So I asked my dad, "Can you meet us in insert intersection?" Myself and my friend walked to the intersection, which was a dark road and semi-rural. My friend at the time drank too much and decided he needed to stick his fingers down his throat to get rid of some of the liquor in this system. So there he is, wrenching his guts out at the side of the road. A car passes and I see a light bar on top. It's a cop. He hits his brakes and I say, "Aw, crap," thinking we're about to get jammed up again for drinking underage, when suddenly, crash! The cop gets rear-ended by another cop. I don't know how or why, I just know that I watched one cop slam into the back of another cop car. I did not need to be told that that was my cue to exit. Me and my friend booked it out of there. About 10 minutes later, we circled the block and came around from the opposite direction we ran in, doing our best "what happened?" just as my dad pulled up. Story 12. My grandfather had taught me how to shoot. One day, a coyote that had been harassing and injured a dog on the farm showed up a third of a mile downhill from the farmhouse. Grandpa throws me the rifle and tells me to take a shot. I'm not big on killing animals unnecessarily, but I line up my shot and the coyote runs away. Grandpa chides me for missing, even though it was a third of a mile. Descending shot, crosswind, and not a great scope. I endure the scolding, say nothing. A month later, the coyote hasn't come back. The neighboring ranch calls Grandpa over to see something. Dead coyote. Same one. Rancher shot it. It had a clean, recently healed shot through its ear. I didn't miss. Coyote had gotten the message. Incredible shot by you. All things considered, it ended up lining up with your mindset somehow anyways. OP had just primed it for an ear tag like a proper naturalist. I'd like to agree with the comments, but to have clipped the coyote's ear, OP must have been aiming for a headshot. To me, that makes it seem like he wasn't all that hesitant to kill. Story 13. I was playing basketball in the park with my mom. Neither of us were very athletic. We were just having fun. There was some kid hanging around us and we weren't trying to be rude, so we let him. After a few minutes of some of the worst questions I had ever heard, he asked me if I could throw the ball at the basket backwards. I said sure. If he had asked if I could make it backwards, I would have said no, but he only asked if I could throw it backwards, which I could. My mom knew what I was doing. Heck, I picked up so much from her growing up, it was probably her idea before I said anything. I took a half-hearted peek at the basket, turned around, no warm-up, just let that ball fly. I turned back around to watch the obvious miss. I started to say, "See, I threw it at the basket," but all I got out of my mouth was, "See," before the ball went in. Swish. Nothing but net. Backboard? That thing never even hit the rim. I didn't have the will to keep a straight face if I looked at the kid. I looked at my mom and said, just like that. She was almost as surprised as I was. The kid told me he didn't think I could do it again. Mama beat me to it this time and said, I think it's your turn." He left us alone soon after. Once when I was bartending, I took a pen that a customer had used to sign his receipt, tossed it over my shoulder without looking, and it apparently landed right in the pint glass we used for pens about 5 feet away. The customer just looked at me and said, "That went in." I nonchalantly replied, "I know, I'll never be that cool or lucky again." Story 14. I got saved during a blizzard in the Alps by a big purple cow. I was skiing in the Alps with some friends and we were off-piste doing some jumps and stuff. I was at the back of the group and fell and twisted my knees during a jump. I managed to get myself a bit lost as a blizzard set in and I couldn't see anything. I carefully scrambled around on my dodgy knee for a bit and thought I was about to end up in a fair amount of trouble. Then out of the snow appeared my purple angel. A purple shape came out of the blizzard, which, as it got closer, turned out to be an upright purple cow on skis. Turns out it was the Milka chocolate mascot, a guy dressed in a purple cow costume skiing about the hills dishing out chocolate. He skied right up to me and said, "Hey man, you okay? You want some chocolate?" He then helped me back to the piste and took me to the nearest bar to get a beer. Guess who else was in the bar? My friends, who were getting increasingly concerned that they lost me. Milka Man dished out some more chocolate to everyone and skied off, never to be seen again. Thank you, Purple Cow Angel, you saved me that day and gave me chocolate. Now that's some seriously effective marketing. I would be a lifelong customer after that. Story 15. A friend and I were hired by a police officer in our small town to help train police officers and make a training video. They gave us weapons to hide on our bodies. I put a switchblade up in my hair. Then we drove to a dirt road and were only told, "When you see us coming around the corner, floor it." That was it. That was all that we were told. When we saw the car, we floored it and went racing down the road. The police car followed us into the road with a gravelly field that we'd pulled into. The captain was already there, set up and ready to film his officers. They came screaming in with road dust and bluster, yelling at us to get out of the car. They had their guns out. I can't even believe that I'm writing this. I'm assuming that they were unloaded, but no one ever said anything and we were asked. We had no idea that it was going to go down this way. So they were yelling using the speaker on their car, "Get out of the car! Get out of the car!" We genuinely flipped out now and adrenaline was so high. We put our hands up, she threw the keys, and we took off running. We got tackled and frisked. I tore my pants and shirt and the officer didn't find the knife in my hair. It was the 90s. My hair was pretty big. I got put in the back of the car. The captain, filming officer, was standing in front of the car to film it through the window. I could reach up from the back to the front seat and was able to get the gun and pull it into the back seat without him noticing. I was holding it up so that the filmer could see that I was able to get the gun, and I pulled the switchblade out of my hair to show that it had been missed too. My friend was put into another car. Then it was over, and we got a small drink from Dairy Queen as payment. It all went so badly that I heard that the tape was not really used, and I do wonder where it went, and I would have loved to have been a fly on the wall when they all talked about what they'd done. It was such a completely wild and surreal experience. When we talk about it now, we howl with laughter at how absurd and probably illegal it was, and no one can believe that it really happened. The small drink coupon really puts it over the top. Really, they could have at least given you guys a free blizzard. That really made me laugh. The whole thing was so surreal and ridiculous. It is wild seeing it now with the eyes of an adult. We were not so old, but the officers were full-grown men. How in the world did they think that this was a fine idea? Story 16. I used to go to uni with this guy named Sam. Sam was a pretty quirky guy. We had classes together twice a week, and we were pretty new friends. Anyway, I was walking down the strip of shops between the dorms and the campus, and I saw Sam across the road. I walked up to him and said hi, and acted friendly. After a short conversation, I excused myself and say, "Bye, Sam." "I'm not Sam." BS. It's Sam. Talks the same way, held the conversation fine. I noticed nothing different. He claims to be Sam's identical twin brother. I call Sam on his BS. Pretending to be his own twin is the kind of stuff I'd expect out of Sam after knowing him for 3 months. No, he insists he's not Sam. Prove it, Sam. I make this complete stranger who has no idea who I am pull out a photo of identification like I'm the campus police. Is it Sam? Nope, identical twin brother who Sam just never mentioned. What the heck? How have I known this guy for 3 months and not know about his twin brother? I bet this jerk has set me up. I go and confront Sam about it before our lecture later in the day. I tell him the story. BS, says Sam. He doesn't believe my story. He doesn't believe I'd interrogate his brother and thinks I'm making stuff up. I swear it's all true, I say. Prove it, he says. He calls his brother. Bro says he has no idea what Sam's talking about. Sam's brother continues to claim to not recognize me for like 7 more months until their birthday party, the only time I'd ever managed to get them in the same place, and Sam's twin makes me show my ID when I walk up to the party. Well, the truth finally all comes out well after everyone, but Sam's twin forgot about it. Funny effing punks. Identical in every way. Early ages of gaslighting. The thing those psychologists won't tell you about gaslighting is it can be really funny. Story 17. I moved to a new city and figured I would go for a drive and get the lay of the land. I was at a stop sign trying to turn right, looking left at traffic. I saw my chance and turned right without looking. A pedestrian was crossing in front of me and I hit him. Not super hard, but hard enough for him to kind of roll up on my hood. He got off and stood up. I rolled my window down and apologized, but he was kind of like Eric Idle in National Lampoon's European Vacation. He kept apologizing, saying it was his fault, just a flesh wound, etc. I decided my sightseeing tour should come to an end after running someone down in the street. I got a little turned around before finding my bearings. I was headed up a hill towards my new place and didn't realize my lane was ending. I didn't see the car in my blind spot and totally cut them off, and our cars very lightly bumped. I immediately stopped next to the car I had hit. The driver was the pedestrian I ran over 20 minutes ago, 5 miles away. Again, he was disturbingly polite, apologized to me, and did not want to exchange insurance info, though there was no damage. He probably thought you were the worst hitman ever. I don't know, he did hit him twice. Well, looks like you and that guy had a hit and run in, but at least no one was hurt. Story 18. I went out to buy tobacco, but when I got to the register and the clerk rang me up, I noticed that I had forgotten my purse at home and only had about €2 in my pocket in loose change. And the tobacco was €5. On a whim, I said, well then, I have to pay the other way. Give me one of the scratch card lottery tickets, please. I bought the ticket, scratched the symbols open, and proceeded to hand the ticket back to the guy without saying a word. Long story short, because winnings smaller than $200 are cashed out directly, I got to leave the store with my tobacco and €95 in cash, leaving a very perplexed store clerk behind. Best thing is, I don't know if it was because I was in a hurry and tired, but I managed to keep a totally straight face all the time, as if winning that €100 was the most natural thing to happen in that situation. I just looked it up and the quota for winning €100 is literally 1 in a million. Yeah, I assumed you were going to wind up with a $10 scratcher or something, and even that's pretty great luck. I've never won anything else after with that kind of scratch card except for the occasional get another scratch card for free, which has a like 1 in 10 chance. Story 19. A long time ago in Japan, my mom sent me a box full of snacks from my home country. Some time passed and I received a slip about a box of packages that I needed to pick up. I went to the designated place and it was just full of containers. I showed the slip of paper and asked around. Some guy says he knows how to help me and we both walk over to some other place and soon the packages come out. I was gonna take the package and go, but he told me I should have it inspected. He gives me more documents and says they should be signed elsewhere. I ask around some other people and they agreed to help me as well. This kind of thing goes on and on. All kinds of documents and signatures. I didn't really care what was on there, I just signed them. I came at around 10 a.m. and it was nearing 5 p.m. I had like 10 guys following me around all day having me sign documents. I look like some mafia boss. They get the dogs out and have my box sniffed and weighed. I finally got my box at like 6 p.m. and went home wondering what just happened. Oh, and one of the guys that stuck with me all day told me, "Don't forget me," like it was some kind of romantic movie. Come to think of it, I think I imported a single box full of snacks. Bureaucracy at its finest. Story 20. Short one, yet true nonetheless. I was having a hectic day once, running errands I didn't enjoy. Grocery shopping, quick Home Depot visit, going to the bank, etc. I forgot an item I needed at home for the bank teller, so I drove back irritated, driving fast, trying to make it back to the bank before closing time. As I turn into my apartment's parking lot there, I notice ahead of me a squirrel. I hit my brakes to let the squirrel run by, but he's just sitting there, nibbling on something. As I slowly drive closer, I notice the squirrel is not only nibbling on fries, fries, but he's imitating dipping a single fry into a crushed and empty ketchup packet. I looked around to see if anyone was seeing what I was seeing. I couldn't believe it. This mofo was dipping a fry in ketchup. A squirrel. I didn't take a photo because my phone was dead. Proof or it didn't happen. I know. But I think about this memory once a month or so, and it's been 2 years. No one ever believes me. A Bigfoot sighting would have been more plausible. Sometimes I think the fry-eating squirrel was a form of deity or god, reminding me to slow the F down in life. Who knows? Tree rats are quite smart. I've seen them do crazy stuff before, so at least one random internet stranger believes you. Thank you. I didn't know how smart squirrels were. I had a professor who had a squirrel phobia. I thought squirrels were harmless. I know I'm irrational, imagining there's a squirrel king rising amongst the other squirrels like Caesar in Planet of the Apes, except with the voice of Alvin and the Chipmunks. It shouldn't worry me, but it does. It seems like this experience gave you a little paranoia about the potential of intelligent squirrels, but I'd like to think the degree of intelligence needed for dipping a fry in ketchup is far less than what's required for planning a successful uprising, so there's probably no need to worry. Probably. Story 21. I saw a clown get hit by a truck one time. No joke. It was a clown in full costume. Red nose, funny hair, big shoes. He ran out into traffic in a particularly busy area and was dancing around like he was playing live-action Frogger. Well, he lost. A pickup truck hit him. He got launched, and the impact knocked his shoes off. I was at a red light in the intersection when it happened. My brain couldn't really process what happened, and all those years of depression and Adult Swim made my default reaction laughter. It was actually on YouTube from someone's dash cam for a little while, but the video got taken down about 5 years ago. I'm imagining the clown honking his little clown horn at the truck before being hit. Sadly, there was no honk other than the truck's horn, but the clown did jingle a little when he landed. He writhed around for a few seconds and then got up and went to get his shoes. At that point, the light turned green for me, so I had to move. Dude probably had a few broken ribs, but he did live. Story 22. I went to see some London fireworks around 10 years ago. It was not New Year's Eve. It was the Mayor's Parade or something, and we were all on the bridge waiting quietly for the show to dazzle us. A tipsy fella and some tipsy ladies were singing Be Our Guest from Beauty and the Beast, but got stuck on a certain bit and couldn't remember the line. Flashback to 10-year-old me sitting in front of the telly watching a VHS of Beauty and the Beast, scribbling the lyrics for that very same song onto some paper. See, my class in school was putting on a B&B play, but we didn't have lyrics. I can't sing for crap, but I valiantly offered to transcribe them, not realizing the Herculean task ahead trying to decipher some of the words. The play never happened. A shame, because I'd been cast as Gaston, but the lyrics for Be Our Guest would be forever seared into my brain, waiting for their opportunity, one day. And fan my brow, opportunity had finally come knocking, but I was so nervous I was sweating, maybe even shaking. Somehow the stars aligned and the universe bestowed upon me the courage to help these inebriated revelers who were clearly in over their heads. I waited for someone, anyone, to join in. No takers. It was now or never. Well, it was then or never. I prepped my dodgy French accent and started singing, Life is so unnerving for a servant who's not serving. He's not whole without a soul to wait upon. It was like a film. People turned around and made a way as I started shakily walking towards them. 10 years we have been rusting, needing so much more than dusting, needing exercise, a chance to use our skills. Most days we just lay around the castle. They turned around beaming. The dude put his arm around my shoulder and we sang the rest of that bit together. Flabby, fat and lazy, you walked in and oopsie daisy. We high-fived, onlookers clapped, and I shakily walked back to join my mates. Once I'd come to my senses, I asked why none of them had filmed it. I'm not sure if anyone else filmed it. I remembered seeing cameras pointed at us, so I hunted around YouTube for a while after that, but eventually gave up. Regardless, such an opportunity may never appear again, and I'm so glad I temporarily had the guts to just go for it. Never be afraid to embarrass yourself in front of strangers. It is only the people we know that count, and if the embarrassment goes well, they might become people we know, with a fun shared memory of meeting. Story 23. I was playing 8-ball at a bar one night. I'm not very good. I just play for fun. I'm on a slight winning streak. My next opponent racks them and I break. The 8-ball goes in on the break, so it's an automatic win. The dude refuses to leave the table, continues to put quarters in and racks again. I'm like, dude, you lost. There's like 8 people in line to play next. He's drunk and being stubborn and won't leave. So I break again and the 8-ball drops again. Dude walks away without saying a word. I have to believe this because I've only ever pocketed the 8 on a break twice in my life, and both happened within the same week. It's like the sporting gods just get around to us average Joes once and then move on. Thanks for watching and/or listening all the way to the end. If you have a similar story that you would like to share, please leave it in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe. For more videos like this one right now, please stop by our channel or choose one on the screen when the video ends. Thanks again, and see you next time!